Very good morning. Okay. I've called it Empowering Institutions Enabling Learners because this is precisely what we do as an organization. I don't know how many of you have heard of QS before. I did hear about rankings that you mentioned. Yeah. So QS is a global ranking agency, with respect to higher education. We're helping students identify the best of universities across the world. We're also in India under the QS iGauge banner, which I'll speak about it later. But I'm going to highlight upon a few areas that we are working in Indian education sector, particularly in the school segment now over the last 6 years, with respect to quality. Now, quality means different definitions and different understanding for different institutions. But let's look at, can we, yeah, how do we measure quality? I mean, what we have observed over the last so many years of having worked with so many institutions is that, particularly in an Indian context also, there is no real metric that any institution follow. They look at their strengths as, their USPs, and then kind of highlight that as their strengths. But do we really need a common metric for institutions to follow? So according to the National Center for Education Statistics in the US, it talks about academic skills, your teacher's experience, your professional development, course content, pedagogy, technology, etc., as the the way to measure quality for in education. If you look at in India, Niti Aayog says that student outcomes, learning outcomes, accessibility, infrastructure, facilities, equity, etc., define quality of education. I would like to draw your attention to the last 2 points here. The McKinsey report says, which is very, very interesting, the report is called the world's best performing school systems. Qualification of education system cannot exceed the quality of its teachers that are required to deliver high quality instruction. So I think that's very interesting that it is extremely important. We all talk about teacher development, faculty training and development. That is one area that we have witnessed that there is a lot of work that we need to do as institutions. And also, if you look at the Stanford Center for Education and Policy Analysis, interestingly, this dimension mentions about the financial investment that we are making on each student in terms of what is the contribution that we are making to a particular student, which results in the investment in the resources and the student outcome that we are going to achieve end of the day. So it involves analyzing how much funding is allocated with respect to each student, which can be crucial in determining the level of resources for educational programs and facilities that are being catered. And this precisely is because typically we talk about student outcome, we highlight, we glorify the student outcomes, but that is a small segment of schools or small segment of students in a particular schools we talk about that we highlight. But in order for you to achieve broader achievement at a school level across different segments of schools, and whether it is a public aided school or a government school or an international school, as long as you are focusing on investing in each and every child with respect to the resources and facilities that we are providing, then eventually the outcome of is going to be phenomenal. So how do we measure quality, right? What is quality? Why quality matters? The National Bureau of Economic Research in the US found that standard deviation increase in the quality of school education is associated with a substantial increase in future earnings of the students. So as an organization, whatever we do, it revolves around students. We want to contribute towards students' learning outcomes, students' achievement as they go with their further studies or employment. And what we have witnessed is that the amount of investment that parents are making in today's world for educating their children, up to 30 to 40% of the overall income is being invested in education of the student, and therefore there is an expectation of ROI from the parents as well. So this study suggests that a strong meaning of connection between the quality of school education, which will result in providing a financial stability for the students eventually. Now, importance of quality assessments. Why I'm emphasizing on quality is because like I mentioned, it is extremely important for institutions to look at a common metric that they can follow to identify whether they are, the journey is in the right direction with respect to achieving their end goals of, obtaining the high quality results for the students, and we are able to educate future ready students. The Quality Council of India says it is extremely important for Indian schools to be accredited. Now, I want to draw your attention to this particular slide, which says that we have, if you look at the school market in India, we have over 1.5 million schools. Of course, keep aside the larger chunk of government aided schools. But if you look at the private schools also, there are at least a 500,000 schools in India. And you will be surprised to see that there are only about 100 odd NABET accredited schools in the country. Now, out of that, I've taken this from the NABET website. Active licenses are only about 42. I mean, why is this so poor in a nation like India, where I'm sorry, this is not moving here. Yeah. So this is only about 42 active licenses that we have as per the NABET accreditation. Now, let's also look at some of the parent and student satisfaction surveys that we have done over the last 6-7 years that we've been working with various schools. While of course, thanks to COVID, the way technology has accelerated in the education segment, we witnessed a huge improvement with the way institutions use technology to upgrade the overall processes. So IT services, 82% of the parents show that they are satisfied with the IT services of the school. Facilities phenomenal. We all have state-of-the-art infrastructure that schools are building. But social awareness and mental health being major concern of students here. And I think that is one area we lack, whether it is social awareness, mental health. I mean, I've came across a report which mentioned that there is not even a mention of climate change in any of our curriculum in India, which is something that we need to really look at and bring awareness about climate change and other social awareness campaigns that school will have to do. Safety, fairly, most of the schools are doing fairly well. About 85% students did feel that safety is being taken care. Now, these are quick analysis of some of the student satisfaction levels. Teaching and learning about 86%. In our rating framework, we look at anything about 90% as very good, but I think there is a long way for institutions to go with respect to, of course, social gender sanitization, food quality being a major concern in most of the schools, particularly in the residential and global schools. Mental health, taking a real toll on the students' mental well-being. And now I want to take another 5 minutes to quickly introduce QS and why we are here. QS, our vision is to enable institutions to become world-class in India through quality and excellence. We have been in India for the last 7 years under the banner of QS iGauge, and our mission is to enable motivated people around the world to fulfill their potential to achieve international mobility, educational excellence, and career development. And our founder, Nunzio Cockerill, is has started this rating and ranking framework when he was looking out for institutions that he wanted to study, and he didn't have any metrics to identify such institutions. That is how the whole journey started. And it's about 40 countries that publicly benchmark our data when it comes to particularly about higher education, and about 15 governments work with us to understand how do we improve quality of higher education across the globe. And about 75 million visitors every month on our website, students looking for information with respect to which are the best places, institutions, and cities to employers around the world. Now, this is our journey. We started in India under the banner QS iGauge, because why we came to India as a different private sector initiative is because if you look at Indian education sector, it is quite dynamic. When we rate or rank universities across the world, it is possible for us to benchmark them on a blanket methodology, whereas in an Indian context, it is very dynamic, very complex. We have private institutions, aided institutions, state government institutions, central government institutions. So there was a need for us to create a nationwide, country-specific rating system in India, and then there is nowhere else QS has a national rating system. So we have come to India for the last 6 years, and we are rating institutions. We have rated about 100 plus institutions, and I also want to draw your attention here to how different ratings and rankings are. Generally, there is a perception about any external assessment as rankings, which is a relative comparison of institutions. Now, what we do is a 360-degree holistic assessment of an institution, which is helping you, understand where you stand in terms of a global benchmark. But we do understand the local challenges and constraints that we have as an Indian education system. So therefore, we have slightly Indianized it and reduced weightage on some of the, internationalization, for example, or international diversity, international collaboration of schools and colleges. We have reduced it to a large extent to give it an Indian touch. But what I would like to draw your attention is there is a significant, distinct difference between rankings and ratings. Rankings, talks about very few indicators of an institution, whereas ratings are much more holistic. Ratings will give you a real roadmap as to what are the gaps of your, in terms of the quality, what are the gaps that you have, and what are your areas of strengths, and how do you take your journey forward in that direction. And of course, I don't want to discuss, I think I'm running out of time now. So we'll quickly, I would like to take you through how the audit helps your institution. It's a comprehensive audit, purely a data consolidation and, data consolidation and analysis of across quality parameters, about 100 plus indicators. It runs into about 100 plus indicators, taking all kinds of quality aspects of an institution and looking at that data. And it provides you with a balanced scorecard, which will help you understand what are your key areas of strengths and improvements. And then, of course, if you do well, you need to talk about it. You need to brand your institution. Right branding is also equally important for an institution than just talking about your own achievements, what you feel is your achievement. Rather than that, cementing your achievement is also extremely important, whether it is private accreditations or government accreditation. So we help you cement your claims as an institution. What are your strengths and what are your areas of improvement? And more importantly, indicator-wise recognition, teaching and learning. I would like to quickly take you through some of the indicators. Teaching and learning, competency development, very, very important as to what is the strength of your institution with respect to the quality of teachers that you have. Resources and facilities, social responsibility and sanitization, academic facilitator, governance, which is very, very important, policies and the best practices that you follow as an institution. All these areas have been considered in the rating framework. It is going to be a very rigorous assessment of the institution, and it will give you a perspective about how QS looks at quality standards of your institution. And it is not a shame game for the institution. It is only going to be a roadmap and a hand-holding process for the institution. And we, of course, have specialized criteria that you can pick any two of the specialized criteria from this. So quickly taking you through competency development, integration of higher order thinking skills, we look at teacher education and development, multilingualism, etc., etc. Teaching and learning, number of students per section, because it is important that we have a good balanced ratio of teacher-student ratio. So we look at that. Overall teaching satisfaction. What is important here to understand is this is while 70% of the scoring and assessment comes from the institution, 30% comes from surveys. We, as an independent, authentic agency, we do surveys with parents and students and alumni and teachers as well to see and seek their opinion as to what is their satisfaction level against these indicators with respect to teaching and learning, facilities, healthcare, your infrastructure, etc. Now, social responsibility, the social and community activities that you're doing, what is the environmental impact that you're making as an institution, what is the amount of funding that you're doing for community outreach programs, public health, safety and well-being, academic facilitators, the qualification of facilitators, because I don't think there is any best practice that is followed by institutions anywhere across the country. So that is one area we are very, very particular about, the qualification of the teachers. What is the retention rate? As long as you are following these processes and you are ensuring that there is a continuous improvement, quality improvement as an institution, retention rate is going to be good for your institution. So we look at the retention rate of the institution as well. Yeah. So these are other indicators. So parameters of rating badges, it goes from bronze to silver, gold, and diamond and platinum. Platinum being the highest. And also post evaluation, like I said, we help you with a lot of branding activities because we work with government, we work with international universities across the country, we work with the top universities. So there's an opportunity for the institution to collaborate, work with international community, to kind of talk about your strengths, your capabilities as an institution. So these are some of the highlights of some of the thought leadership conclaves. As an organization, we believe in adding value to the education industry. So a lot of thought leadership conclaves, purely content focused events we do. I'm sure some of you have already attended some of the recently concluded events. So that's one area that we really work with. And I want to leave you with this quick video. Can we play the video, please? Just a 1 minute video. This. Oh, it's gone. Yeah.
For one thing, it was very detailed, and it was also exhaustive, thorough, and comprehensive. As a result of this, we had a kind of checklist which we could use to assess our strengths and weaknesses. In fact, it's because of this that we actually scrutinize the kind of training that we give our staff.
That as soon as QSI Gauge approached us with their initiative of school ratings, we were perhaps the first boarding school to take this up in India. And quite unlike other platforms, the rigor of audits was grilling, and it was transparent. And you see, that's what builds the trust. It was a rigorous process with several testing parameters.
We have identified a lot of aspects which we are doing excellently well, much above the benchmark. But more importantly, we have learned the aspects where we have to develop a lot. And this insight will help us to improve the services that we are providing to the students.
Going through these ratings, it has helped us to look at our weaknesses and our strengths. It was also a great team building exercise. While we were sitting with our team working on the policies, we realized that there were many thoughts and ideas that came to the table which doesn't come otherwise.
So I believe ratings like the QSI Gauge benefit schools to help them benchmark themselves against other educational institutions so that they understand at what level they are functioning. And I think the biggest benefit could be to high school students who are applying to colleges, especially colleges abroad, which look at very closely at the kind of education that children have got. And an international rating like this gives them scope to understand what kind of school a child has gone to.
We're very happy doing this audit because unlike other audits, this involved every aspect of the school. Whether it was sports, whether it was co-curricular, whether it was admissions, whether it was academics, whether it was administration, and we all worked.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Please reach out to me for any questions.